Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the 85th Legislative Preview. My name is Don McCoy, and I'm the Executive Director of the Fulshear Area Chamber of Commerce. On behalf of the Chamber and the Board of Directors, we'd like to thank each and every one of you for being here this morning. We would like to start this morning's event by recognizing some of our special guests in our audience today. First, I'd like to recognize our speakers this morning, Senator Lois Kolkhorst and Representative John Zerwas. If you'd please stand. Also in attendance this morning, we have a number of elected officials, and we would like to recognize them at this time. So please hold your applause until you've been recognized, and we would all the elected officials, please stand as I read your name. First, we have Mayor Marietta Anderson of the City of Arcola. Mayor, thank you. Council Member Barry Beard with City of Richmond. Mayor Lou Boudreau, City of Simonton. Representing Commissioners-elect Vincent Morales, Fort Bend County, Mandy Bronzell. County Attorney Ray Cortez Jr., Fort Bend County. Judge Chad Bridges, Fort Bend County. District Clerk Annie Rebecca Elliott, Fort Bend County. City Manager, City of Simonton, Shelley Elliott. Council Member of the City of Missouri City, Floyd Emery. Justice of the Peace, Fort Bend County, Gary Jansen. Judge Maggie Jaramillo, Fort Bend County. Of course, Senator Lois Kolkhorst, State of Texas. I like that. And Council Member Tricia Krennick, City of Fulshear. Commissioner Andy Myers, of Fort Bend County. Judge Christopher Morales, Fort Bend County. Constable Trevor Nels, Fort Bend County. Mayor Pro Tem Jimmy Pena, City of Rosenberg. County Clerk with Fort Bend County, Laura Richard. Mayor of the City of Fulshear, Jeff Roberts. Trustee of Lamar CISD, James Steenberger. Alderman, City of Weston Lakes, General Trent Thomas. Constable-elect, Fort Bend County, Wayne Thompson. And Council Member, City of Fulshear, Aaron Tristan. Council Member, City of Sugar Land, Bridget Young. Also, State Representative, 28th District, State of Texas, Dr. John Zerwas, and Mayor of Sugar Land, Joe Zimmerman. Let's give them all a round of applause, please. It is an honor to have you here, and if you are an elected official and you perhaps missed the check-in desk out front, would you please stand at this time and we could recognize you too, in case I didn't have you on the list. Did we get everybody? Yeah, how about that? That's okay. Okay, this is great. All right, now, our presenting sponsor this morning is New First National Bank. Now, would Terry Crockett and Tom Shirley please stand? Where are you at? Where's right here? Thank you guys so very much. As always, New First Bank steps to the forefront in support of our chamber and our community, and we appreciate the tremendous support you have shown our chamber over the past 3 years of our existence. I can't thank you enough. So from me, thank you very, very much. This event would not have been possible without the participation of our great sponsors like New First Bank and our platinum members, underwriters, and table sponsors who have graciously sponsored today's event. And you'll see their names scrolling on the screens here, and please recognize them when you see them or you say hi. Please know that we appreciate you very, very much and the support very much that you've given us. It is because of your partnerships like these and sponsorships and the members of the Fulshear Area Chamber of Commerce that have made our third year a huge success. In case you don't know, we started 3 years ago. We're well over 420 members now in our chamber. We're very proud of that. So thank you very much. And this wouldn't have been possible without our board of directors. So I'd like to briefly give you a moment to recognize our Fulshear Area Chamber Board of Directors. Chairperson Randy Stacy with the Fulshear Insurance Group. Randy? Where's Randy at? There he is back there in the back. Our Vice Chairperson, Rebecca Hafner, Independence Title. And you're going to get an extra applause because she is the chairperson of this magnificent event today. So thank you for your hard work. Our treasurer, Terry Crockett with New First National Bank. Our co-chair of this event this morning, and we couldn't have done this without her consistent diligence in making sure everything was exactly perfect and on task. I really appreciate it. And that's our secretary, Tricia Wright, with Touchstone Crystal by Zawarski. Thank you, guys. Another board member is Mary Meyer with First Choice Emergency Rooms. Thank you, Mary. Hugh Durham with All Terra Engineering. And last but not least, Rachel Durham with Keller Williams Premier Realty. I tell you, as an executive director, I couldn't be luckier to have a board of directors like these, and I hope you're also lucky to have a board of directors. They're fantastic, and they are the reason we are so successful, and we appreciate it. I'd also like to thank someone really, really important that keeps my life kind of in order, and that's our executive assistant at the Fulshear Area Chamber, and that is Amy Norvell. Where's Amy? Right here. Amy, we wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for you. We really appreciate it. At this time, we'd like to ask Pastor Dave Welch to come forward and lead us in our invocation. So as Pastor Welch makes his way to the stage, if you please stand and remain standing for our presentation of colors and the pledges of allegiance.
Good morning. It is a joyful time of year to gather, and it's an interesting moment where we're here to talk about upcoming policy issues, but we're also around us seeing the trappings and the coloring of the celebration of a particular time of year that we celebrate the joy of the birth of the Savior of the world. So let us, as we discuss those moments of coming up and all the issues ahead of us, take this time in these coming days and weeks to remember really what this time of year really is and what he came to do and who he is, and meaningful to all of us personally, and as we turn our lives toward that moment and these coming days with family, as we celebrate that moment and go beyond that. So let's pray this morning. Father, we come before you this morning with grateful hearts as we recognize and acknowledge your work of extending the gift of eternal freedom to us through the birth of the Savior of the world, that he came to live and to walk this earth and lived a sinless life and died and rose again to give us that freedom. And as we celebrate his birth in these coming weeks, we pray that you will turn our hearts to you. And also, Father, for our call here on this earth, that we will walk faithfully and diligently in that truth and in that hope that brings the light to the world. And as we gather this morning, and all that is said, and all that is done in the chambers of the policy making, which you have ordained, Lord, according to your word, as ministers of God for good, that you will work in the hearts and the minds and the lives of all those making those decisions, those that are here today serving in the ministry of public office, those that are here, Lord, that we are serving in any capacity, and all that we do as citizens in our part of delegating your authority. We pray that we will do it faithfully. So we dedicate this morning to you, all that we do, all that we say. Ask your blessing over this meal and over each person here, Father, that you will again turn our hearts, our minds, and our lives, that we will bring glory and honor to your name, and the light of the world will be lifted up. We pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you very much. This time, Fort Bend County Sheriff's Department Color Guard will be presenting our colors this morning. Gentlemen.
Left face. Present colors.
Please join Fulshear Police Chief Kenny Seymour, who will lead us in the pledges of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now the Texas flag. I pledge the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Please remain standing until they dismiss the color.
Please remain standing while we have Scott Beelan, Associate Pastor of the Second Baptist Church West, to sing our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? Forward march.
Thank you. Please be seated. Next, I'd like to officially welcome Senator Lois Kolkhorst. Senator Kolkhorst is a fifth-generation Texan, a Brenham native. She went on to graduate from TCU, where she played collegiate golf. In December 2014, Senator Kolkhorst was elected to the Texas Senate in a special election after serving 14 years in the Texas House of Representatives. She serves as Vice Chair of the Senate Committee on Health and Human Services and is a member of the Senate Committee on Education and the Senate Transportation Committee. Senator Kolkhorst, would you please join us on stage? Thank you. Our second panelist this morning is Representative John Zerwas. Representative Zerwas has just been reelected to his sixth term in the Texas House of Representatives. serving the citizens of Texas House District number 28. He currently serves as chairman of the House Committee on Higher Education. Representative Zerwas graduated from Bel Air High School and the University of Houston. He earned his doctorate in medicine at Baylor College of Medicine. Please welcome Representative John Zerwas. Now, if I can find my place. At this time, let me see here. Oh, here it is, right here. I want to introduce our moderator. Thank you. He's a little confused. Our moderator this morning, I'd like to introduce Keith Garvin, who will be performing moderating our panel discussion today. Keith is an Emmy Award-winning journalist who joined KPRC Channel 2 News as an anchor reporter in August of 2012. In that time, he has reported on both shooting tragedies at Fort Hood, the American Sniper murder trial, and won a regional Emmy as anchor of the Best Newscast in 2013. Keith grew up in Bryan College Station and is a proud graduate of Bryan High School. He got a football scholarship to the University of Nevada at Reno and earned a broadcast journalism degree from the university's Don Reynolds School of Journalism. Mr. Keith Garvin, would you please join me on stage? Thank you so much. And Keith, I'm going to turn this over to you, sir.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, let's have a round of applause for the executive director, Don McCoy. This fabulous job, yes. As you all know, Don has quite a bit of energy, but he's on a little extra cloud nine after his Cowboys won tonight, or last night, I should say. Kept me up late, but that's okay. But what a pleasure and honor it is for me to be here with you all today, both personally on behalf of my station as well. Really great to be here. It's going to be it's a beautiful morning, but my inside sources tell me that this weekend's going to be a soaker, so make sure you all have your umbrellas or stay inside, maybe watch some good college football. We're going to have our questions this morning. Speaking of college football, I was trying to determine who gets to go first. We have a TCU Horned Frog on stage, also a Houston Cougar. Cougars have a better record, but they don't have a coach right now, so I think we'll go ahead and go with Senator Colkhorst for our very first question, and we'll actually have both of you end up responding. It's not every day that we get to speak to our lawmakers one-on-one in a setting like this. So before we get to the upcoming session, we want to talk about who each of you is, your backgrounds, your profession, what motivates you first. Senator Colkhorst, we'll have you go first.
Well, Keith, first of all, I didn't know you were from Bryan, so you were a Viking?
I was, class of '88, yes.
Okay, well, you're a little younger than me, but not much. And so, anyway, it's good to have you from over there, and you went on to be a college athlete. Keith was asking me, he goes, let them know kind of like who you are, what you did at Thanksgiving, or maybe what you're going to do at Christmas. And so many of you know me in this room. I will tell you that 2 years ago, almost to this day, I came early this morning. I was in the middle of a Senate race that spans 21 counties and nearly 1 million people. Texas senators have bigger districts than U.S. congressmen. And I'll never forget walking into this room, a bit fatigued because the vote was about 2 days away. And I looked around this room and I thought, wow, am I worthy? Can I do this, Lord? Can I really represent the people of this important county and of the growing Fulshear area? And I kind of put it in the Lord's hands at that point, and I did win that race. And I want to tell each and every one of you what an honor and a pleasure it has been to serve this vast district of Senate District 18. And I like to tell people that Senate District 18 is really a whole lot like Texas. You can fit about 3 of those East Coast states in the district that I represent geographically. It has a smidgen of urban. it has a suburban, it has micropolitan, it has rural, it has coast, it has inland, it has it all. And so when I get to talk to the governor, the lieutenant governor, other senators, other state representatives, and they're talking about their issues in their districts, I really can relate to it because we have it all in Senate District 18. So knowing a little bit about me, you know that I can't sit here and not talk about my two children. Lois Kate is 17 now and a senior in high school. We have not determined where she's going to school. She will not be a college athlete in the sense of a sport that you and I think about, but what she does want to do is she wants to cheer on game day. She loves football. She wants to go into journalism. I was a journalism degree. But after the last presidential election that just ended a little less than a month ago, she goes, Mom, I think I'm going to change my degree. And I said, what are you going to go into? And she said, well, I think I want to be a constitutional lawyer. And so I said, Roy, why would you want to do that? And she says, nobody knows the Constitution anymore, and I'm going to go and teach them about that. So we'll see what Lois Kate grows up to be. And then finally, Jake is 14 and in 8th grade. And so I want to tell y'all kind of why my boats go a certain way. Yesterday I was in Austin. John was in Austin. We never saw each other, right? It was really a busy day, very full day. I had warned my 14-year-old son that both on Wednesday night and on Thursday night, which is typical to all of you elected officials in the room, you know we're busy in the evenings. I try not to make it 7 nights a week, but I will just tell y'all this. I had warned him. I knew that science paper was due on Friday, and I said, you're on your own. I kept saying Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Well, like a good mom, I came home and I go, 750 to 1,000 words, how are we doing? I'm stuck at 500. I go, well, you better get to writing. So at about midnight, we finished his paper on the butterfly effect, or really the chaos theory. And I know a lot more about Edward Lorenz than I did a few days ago. But that's the kind of life that I lead. And just to say that our family loves sports, we're very competitive. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about your football career. But I want you to know that I would sum up what I think and who I really am by telling you that today when I was driving here, the sun was coming up. And as I was leaving Brenham, there's a very large American flag. And the backdrop, and I wish I would have stopped and taken a picture, because to me it said two things. That God is alive and well, and we live in the greatest nation in the entire world. That American flag flying with that sun rising was truly an incredible sight that I don't want to forget. And that's really what drives me. That's what drives me to serve. And I'll end with this. I saw a lot of law enforcement in the room. Some of you have uniform on. Help me in thanking them for what they do in protecting us every day. Truly. That scene this morning, and I listen to a lot of Christian radio. If you follow my Facebook postings on Sundays, yes, I write all of those. And that scene, and then thinking about what we've been through in the last week and several months, Chief, and what you do to protect us. And because you wear that uniform, you are a target. I pray for each and every one of you. And I know Representative Zerwas, and I know his heart. And it is such an honor to serve with him. I don't have a better friend in the legislature. We are at a critical point in our nation when law enforcement becomes a target. And I will, when people say, thank you for your service, Senator, thank you for serving. Oh no, I don't serve. You men and women serve us. And you're at the forefront of my prayer every morning and my thoughts, and I truly believe that this country can get to a better place, just like that backdrop of that beautiful American flag with that sun rising this morning. So that's who I am. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Dr. Zerwas.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you for the opportunity to be here with all of y'all. This chamber has just grown enormously, along with Fulshear and the whole area out there in this portion of District 28 in Fort Bend County. And it's just a privilege and an honor to get to be here with you. Merry Christmas to all of you and happy holidays. And what a great season that it is. I will say straight up, too, that serving with Senator Kolkhorst is a privilege. She has been also Representative Kolkhorst and was one of my mentors when I first entered the legislature in 2007. We sat very near each other during on the floor of the House, and it was truly somebody that I got to follow and learn from, and is absolutely one of the best representatives, one of the star senators that we have up there. And if you look at the assignments that she's had and the role that she's played, even in her short time in the Senate, it has been enormously beneficial to Senate District 18, but specifically Fort Bend County. And I know that I feel incredibly privileged that we have her. She is tireless. She sometimes makes me tired, and so, but she is somebody that this county is truly privileged to have, and that I consider it an honor to be with. My background a little bit is I professionally am an anesthesiologist. That's where my medical school career took me, and so as I tell people, I'm a professional at putting people to sleep. Sometimes that works in audiences like this, you know, but I said ultimately, though, I don't get paid unless I wake you up. So I hope ultimately that we have a good opportunity here to kind of think about some of the things that are going to be coming up in the legislative session. You know, the beauty of the Texas legislature is that it is a volunteer legislature. We get paid a very small amount of money actually to do this, and most of that just covers your health insurance out there. But this is, I think, the way that our forefathers intended the legislature to be. You know, people step out of the role that they have professionally or whatever it might be, and they go and they serve on behalf of the people that have elected them there for a period of time. As you know, we meet only every other year for 5 months, January through May. And during that time is the general session, we call it, and that's where we will consider a variety of laws. So we only have to pass one law, and that's constitutionally mandated as the budget. And so that is something that gets a tremendous amount of focus when we go in up there. But we go, and then when we're done, we're done. I equate it to like a semester of college, frankly. You know, you get up there and it's all happy and there's a lot of social activities and everybody's just smiling, and then you get to the midterm and that's when the deadline is for filing bills, and all of a sudden you say, okay, we got to be serious about this now. And then boom, comes Memorial Day, the end of May, the session's over, sine die we call it, that's where we basically adjourn, and it is over. What we get done, we get done. What we don't is there to be considered on another session, maybe a special session. This governor is not really very warm to those, which I appreciate, frankly. And but you know, that's how our state works. I think that's how it was always intended to work. And we go back, you know, Senator Kolkhorst and I go back to our professions and what we do. Yes, we continue to be your representatives in the House and the Senate, and we continue to be to work on behalf of you, because the state of Texas continues to work through its agencies and so forth. But in terms of actually going there and for lawmakers going and making laws, if you will, that's done. We cannot make laws when we're not in session. We can help deal with regulatory burdens and things like that, but for the most part, we are a state that really minimizes the amount of government in your life in terms of making laws. And I think that's something that we as a state are very proud of. I think that's something that you expect of us, and that is to just be as uninvasive into your life as necessary. And so I know that the Senator and I share that perspective in terms of our role in serving in the legislative session. When we're there, we take it very serious. We take what you have told us and what you continue to bring to us so that your voice is heard up there, and that at the end of the day, when it's done, that we have represented the interest of Fort Bend County. Just brief background on my family. I have 4 children, 3 grandchildren. My wife passed away about 3.5 years ago. I was blessed to get remarried a year ago, and doubled my grandchildren count with that, all about the same age, and added a couple of children into that mix there and stuff. And so God has certainly blessed me at times where I saw some of my darkest moments out there and stuff. And so it's that family unit, it's those people, and especially my grandchildren as I look to the future. That's what drives us, I think, to serve in the legislative role that we do. We're not there for us. Frankly, for a lot of us in this generation, it's less about what we're doing. It's about what the next generation is going to do in this state. And that is what is an incredible driving force for many of us who serve to say, let's make sure that this state is going to continue to lead the nation and is going to continue to be there for our children the way it was, and grandchildren, as it was there for us. And so, Kevin, thank you for the opportunity. Appreciate getting to be here with each and every one of you. Thank you.
Thank you both for sharing, and thank you for the insight on how a little bit of what goes on in that 5-month session as well. Let's talk about the upcoming session. What are the legislature's priorities this upcoming session, and in particular, the priorities that will most impact the Fulshear, Fort Bend County area? And either one of you can choose to jump in that first.
I'll start and I'll let John get a little more specific. It's an interesting time, as he mentioned, that this is kind of what I call the buzz phase, where everyone's starting to file bills, and you're seeing what we would refer to as the big three. That's your governor, lieutenant governor, and speaker of the House start to position. The lieutenant governor has been very specific about 20 issues that he wants to tackle. You could go on his Facebook site and look at that. You can pull up the media, and he's very specific, and that is how Governor Patrick has been. He was a lot like that, even though he was a new lieutenant governor. He wasn't sworn in until actually after we went to session, the inauguration for the new governor and lieutenant governor. It was the first time we had real new blood in the state of Texas, so everything was positioning. He has become, very laser focused on what he wants to see happen in the state of Texas. The Speaker of the House, I've served under Speaker Strauss, has tended to be less strident in what he puts out. He believes that he is the speaker for House members, and he lets House members drive that agenda. The one thing I want to tell y'all is that, as I see, and I've had some private conversations with Governor Abbott, Governor Abbott's going to have what he calls 4 pillars of kind of overarching themes. And within that, there'll be bills that he wants to see filed. The lieutenant governor, 20 issues, everything from property tax and appraisal reform to going to women's privacy to talking about school reform. He is very large and has been on the forefront of some kind of school choice program, on down to a number of other issues like sanctuary cities and protection for police officers. John can speak to this. The House is looking at school finance and some other issues. But here's where I see everybody, the media is making big issues of, this colliding thing. But I'm going to tell you how optimistic I am. I spent yesterday in Austin, and I'm so excited because here's the deal. While there's a little difference between the two chambers, I see we're going to come together. And not everything that any one of the leaders wants or that John and I are going to pass in the exact way, even if we did this in this room about your vision just for Fulshear, Texas, would be a little bit different. But I'm extremely optimistic about what we can do on the policy side. And on the budget side, both John will be involved on the budget as well as myself being on Senate Finance. And the money is very, very, very tight and extremely different than the last session. So I'll let John elaborate.
Thank you, Senator. Yes, the budget will be tight. This is no news to any of you. The price of oil tanked. It tanked for a period of time longer than what we anticipated that it would. We get royalties off of oil. If we're not discovering and harvesting minerals from the state's lands, then we don't get those revenues, royalties, if you will. But the biggest part of what the state of Texas gets impacted by is the sales tax. Most of our money, more than half of the money that the state of Texas gets, is in the form of sales tax revenue. And so when jobs go down, when there's less activity in the oil industry in general, that's where we really see the impact. And so we were in a legislative budget board session yesterday. That's the group of 5 senators and 5 representatives that actually involve themselves and oversee the budget activity. And we were taking up what we call a spending cap, and that just says constitutionally we're required to say that we have to establish an amount of money that we will not go over unless we vote to bust the spending cap, we call it. And so we established that. It's based on the increase in income that people have over the state. It's kind of boring and dry, frankly, but it's something that we have to do. And the reflection, though, I will tell you, is that the low end of that, we actually did a lower end of that. And we said, look, this is going to be tight. Frankly, we're not going to probably have enough money for us to even think about what the spending cap is because the sales tax has dropped. Now, the increase in oil recently, the effect of the OPEC nations agreeing to pull back some of their productivity is yet to be seen. 1, how much that impacts the price of oil, and 2, the sustainability, and 3, what happens when oil gets into the mid-50s and all these folks in the state of Texas say, I can now start making money off of 50, and they start to push the supply in excess of what we really need. There's an interesting dynamic going on right now that wasn't there when we saw previous fluctuations in oil and stuff. But for us as a state, what really matters is how much is this industry, which we still are highly dependent on from an economic point of view, how much is that going to result in more jobs and more spending and therefore more sales tax revenue to the state of Texas? I remain optimistic that that's going to come along. We are a fairly diversified economy, but we aren't so diversified that we can weather the effect of oil being under $50 and $60. We do feel the impact of that. We're feeling the impact of that now. And so as the budget starts to get put together, which is what I've been involved with for the past several weeks, and we look at every agency's request for appropriations, they call it, and a variety of things that go into that. We're looking at where can we pull back? Where can we pull back knowing that we aren't going to have as much revenue as we had in 2015, which just let me say, 2015 was extraordinary. It was not the ordinary type of revenue session that we had. 2011, which was the opposite extreme, was also extraordinary in the opposite direction. That's not what we usually see out there. This is going to be someplace in between. So it's not going to be dire, but yes, it's going to be one of those things that we're probably not going to feel as good about because we're out there able to take some of the revenue that the state provide, that you, the taxpayers, provide, and do some things that and implement some of those things. And so, we're looking at right now just saying, we've got to look at where we can rein in some of the costs. All the agencies have come forward with some proposals and some decreases that they have recommended. We as a board have sat down week after week over the past several weeks and looked at what those recommendations are and requests. Some we approve, some we say these are inappropriate, and we just kind of massage those budgets. And all of that comes together in the form of what we call the introduced bill. That's the bill that the House and the Senate will take up as it's introduced into the legislature. The Senate will take it up first this time. It alternates with each session. And then from that point, the legislature will have its input and its ability to put its fingerprints as a whole on what that budget looks like. I will tell you, and it's no secret to anybody, the budget is really about 2 things. It's about education and it's about health care. That is the vast majority of where the state's money is spent. I happen to believe that education is where it should be spent. I think that is the best investment we can make for your children, your grandchildren, and generations after that. And I will tell you, I don't think there's any member of the legislature, House or Senate, that thinks differently on that. And that is a thing that we want to try to get right. It's a work in progress, Dr. Hint. You know that, as every legislative session it is, both for, you know, our foundational education as well as for higher education. But we're going to address that. There will be a conversation around school choice as part of that and how we fund our schools. I will tell you, in District 28, school choice doesn't resonate, okay? And it doesn't resonate with me either, okay? And so, you know, if I have read the tea leaves right in District 28, a lot of people come to District 28 because they like the school districts that are out there. They like the public school system, and they want that public school system to work. And so I work with that mindset in place. Yeah, there's an idea around school vouchers, competitiveness, and the try of excellence, and so forth like that. But I do believe that ultimately that the public school system is the backbone of the state. It's going to continue to be the backbone of the state. And we need to just try to simplify the way that we fund our schools, make it equitable, and be sure that we push the money down to the people that know how to educate the kids, and for us to back out of that as much as possible, and let the school districts who know better, let the teachers who know better incorporate the professional skills that they have to educate their children. I was the beneficiary of that in public schools, and I know my children were the beneficiary of that, and I have every belief that with the educational professionals that we have out there, that we can continue to do that. But it is going to be a bit of a struggle to figure out how do we fund the schools. And I do think you ought to throw school choice as at least something that we talk about in there. I will tell you, very publicly, you know, that is not a place I will go. I can't go there because I don't think District 28 wants me to go there, if for no other reason. You elected me to represent your interests, and I think that's what your interests are up there. And if I'm wrong on that, I need to know that, you know, because these conversations that will come up there. You know, the other place that state government really needs to be very actively involved, and you'll note that I really didn't mention it because from a budgetary point of view. One is in security and safety. We do spend a fair amount of money on making sure that our law enforcement officers are well taken care of, and we usually do take good care of them in terms of their needs and so forth out there. And the other one is in infrastructure. So I think that that's really what the state should be about doing. But yet we spend nearly as much money in healthcare as we spend in education. You know, you'd think, oh, doctor, that sounds really great. No, it's not good. I'm going to tell you, that is not good that the state has to invest so much money in its indigent healthcare program that it is going to start to suffocate all the other incredibly important programs that I think the state should be about the business of doing. Educating, providing a safe and secure environment, providing a welcoming environment for businesses, infrastructure, and those kinds of things. We have to be about the business of making sure we rein in the cost of health care and our indigent health care programs, but not necessarily compromise access. That is not what we need to be doing. We can do this better, and I'm optimistic for some things in the future that are coming, Senator, that we might be able to do a couple things better. And I'm going to mention a couple things and then stop on this, Kevin, and we can move somewhere else if you want. But with the Trump administration and the development of this administration, I see a couple of really big plays for the state of Texas. One of them is we spend $800 million this last biennium on border security. $800 million. I mean, that is the role of the federal government. The federal government has not stepped up and done that, despite our efforts to try to get them to take up the cost of securing our border. We've done that. We've done that on behalf of Texas. We were fortunate that we had the money to do that. But if you look at going into the next session and you talk to our law enforcement leadership, they say, we really need another $300 million to do this. $1 billion. I see the Trump leadership and the incoming Congress saying, border security was a primary issue in this campaign. And I see them coming forward and saying, you know, that's the role of the federal government. Take up this $1 billion burden and let us take that $1 billion and invest it in education, in infrastructure, in other areas of security around the state that we need because we had to push so much of those resources down to the border. The other place I see it is the behemoth Medicaid. Again, that's a $75 billion price tag this past legislative session. I see this administration saying that states, you know how to manage that money best. Send it down to you in the form of a block grant, and the senator and I have worked very closely on this issue in past legislative sessions. We are prepared and will be even more prepared to take that on. It's like the dog that's chasing the car. He finally catches the tire. Now what do you do with it? Well, we have a plan to do something with that. It's not like we're starting from scratch. There are other states who have done it and have saved tremendous amounts of money, as well as delivered high quality care without compromising access. There is potentially $1 billion in border security, $1 billion in health care that we can see coming back to the state of Texas just because, one, the federal government steps up and does what it does, and we, the state, can deliver better on some of these high-cost services out there because we have the ability to define what those numbers are. So those are exciting things, Senator and Kevin, that are kind of on the horizon for us, as a state as a whole. But from my perspective, again, these are resources that we can plow back into those most vital things that we do as a state that's going to continue to allow us to grow.
Thank you, Doctor. You actually led me into what was going to be my next question, so I can go ahead and pose that to the senator if she cares to respond. What kind of impact do you think the new administration in Washington is going to have for our state?
Yeah, right. So I'll be unabashed about this. I supported Trump before it was popular to support Trump, and I stuck with him even after tapes came out and everything else. And part of my vision there was that I had a conversation with him once, and he said, I keep hearing like it's the regulations that are stifling everybody instead of, like taxes are a big deal and everybody always wants to lower taxes, but it's the regulations. And I was like, Mr. Trump, that is absolutely correct. And so there is a window of opportunity right now, and I'm going to tell each and every one of you, whether you voted for him or not, follow his appointments right now. We have a window of opportunity, and it's the only one that I will get in my lifetime. This is it. I really believe that. To put America in a Reagan kind of way back on track of creating jobs. And for Texas, it is huge because of the current administration and some of the policies and their dislike for the state of Texas in EPA rulings, potentially some of the waiver issues that we were going to face. So my stance is I could not be more optimistic right now, right in this very moment. I'm going to bounce off of a few things that John said. By the time we do a supplemental budget in this next session, Health and Human Services, which we call Article 2, will surpass what we really spend in Article 3. And I'm going to tell y'all something. We're going to have to put in $1 billion, $1.3 billion, I think it's $1.3 billion now, into Medicaid shortfall. We cannot sustain that growth. So I've carried block grants when Bush was in office. I've done a healthcare compact, which basically asks Congress, it uses a part of the Constitution that says if 2 or more states come together, then, if Congress approves it, they can do this. And what I asked was block grant Medicaid and Medicare back to us. I don't care what you do. We will do better on a local level. So the optimism that I have is in peeling back some of the regulations that Texas was going to have to face on air quality and some of the things that could stifle our business, as well as what John mentioned in the opportunity we have, which Ronald Reagan said in the 1980s, which he did more reform on Medicaid than really any president before him or after him since 1965. And he said clearly, give Medicaid to the states. It's too expensive for us to try to get good results, healthcare results, and have some impact on the cost. So I'm extremely optimistic about where we are and the opportunities that we have. I want to say, too, on education, what I call is a crowding out. Healthcare has begun to crowd out education. And John talked about school choice. One of the things that I'll be watching very closely on, and it's going to be in the Senate, and I know that, Trevor, I know you're out in the audience, he's like, oh my gosh, I hear some people saying that, you're for school choice. What I am for, loud and clear, is school children. I have 2 children in public education. I am the product of public education. Here in Fort Bend County, we have some great public education opportunities. There are charters out there that are doing a wonderful job as well. But out of I think it is 5.5 million children in school children, 5.3 are being educated in public education. So obviously that is the lion's share. I will not vote for anything that has school choice that does not allow public school systems to be just as competitive and not be so restrictive on them. What we've done is we've kind of, and it's Austin that's done this before we got there, and even since we've gotten there, is we put so many restrictions on them that I want to, and I've said this, take the shackles off and let public education be what it can be. We've done that we've given a start in innovative districts last session, and I'm excited about the potential that we'll see in innovative districts. And so there's a lot to look at, as John says. You look at everything and, making sure that you're not hurting one system over the other. Charter schools have huge wait lists. I've been to KIPP Academy. There's actually a bill that lets, how many Aggies do we have in the room? Texas A&M is thinking about getting into charter schools. Because the law allows them to do that. So there's innovation going on, and we need to allow both public schools and other forms of education to innovate. How many of you have school children right now? Okay. So we all know that they're learning differently than us, right? And Chairman Taylor and the education role that he serves as chairman of education is talking to me about different ways that we need to help classrooms with technology. So we're on the crest of a new wave, and I'm excited about what potential Texas and our partnership with our Congressman Olson. I've had several conversations with Congressman McCall recently. You know that he is being considered for Homeland Security Secretary. Don't know that he will get that, but certainly think that he is qualified. But our Texas delegation, that's another thing, is really positioned very well with the Trump administration to do well for Texas.
Thank you. It's just after 9 o'clock. We know a lot of folks are going to work today. How much more time for questions, Don? I have probably a few more. We can.
One more question.
Okay. Well, sort of in the form of closing remarks. We'll make it a last question, closing remarks. Hear a lot of optimism, and we certainly love to hear that. In your closing remarks, what are you looking forward to the most in this upcoming session when it begins?
Personally, when I was there yesterday, I'm looking forward to having grown into my role as a senator. It's very different than a state representative. And for me, when I got elected on December 6th, sworn in December 22nd, many of you came to that, thank you. And then we started the session. I did not have a bill drafted. I'm going to say this really loud and clear. Did not have a bill drafted, even though I'd served 14 years in the House. We were so busy on the election and focused on that, and I couldn't give real direction to the staff that was still in the House, that when we started over, and you have to start over in the Senate anyway, we ended up passing, with the help of many of you in this room, the third most bills of any senator in the state of Texas. Can I say that again? So you should clap for the staff. Larissa wasn't in place. Larissa, thank you for being on the team. Larissa was in Colorado County last night. at a hearing for TCEQ. We're all over the place. So what I'm really looking forward to is I will be more prepared. We're counting the number of appearances. Right now, Don gave an introduction, and I know he mentioned a couple of the committees I serve on. I serve on 10 committees right now in the Texas Senate. 10 committees on the Texas Senate, in the Texas Senate. So I have this very broad view of government, but we're more prepared. We have a good staff in place, and I've heard from you. What I don't look forward to in this next session is there is going to be some of this, and when I say that, some of the tough issues. You know me, I've always laid my cards on the table. I'm working really hard with locally elected officials, but I also hear from the constituents. Property taxes has to be, for me in my district, in my part of the Fort Bend County area, and appraisals, the number one issue. And I think I truly believe that there will be some sort of reform. And I'm not using the word cap or anything like that. I'm telling you reform. I was in enough meetings yesterday, and I know some of the House members, some of the real leaders of the House, which means even the Speaker has tapped them. There are going to be bills that come out, and we're going to work through our differences in the House and the Senate. But I do believe that train has left the station. That does not mean that I think your local officials here, Andy Myers, where are you? I know you're here in the county. I know we've got several mayors in the room. They do a wonderful job in a dynamic, growing community, county, cities. But I also know that there's only so much that the taxpayer can take out of their pocketbook and then live the life and the freedom that our Constitution guarantees. The number one problem with your property taxes is Austin and the schools. It is the number one thing on your tax bill when you look at it. So I promise you, we will be working forward to that. I'll end with this. I'm an athlete, and so I was telling people, if you got in a huddle, I love basketball. So call a timeout, we get in the huddle. And we go, okay, everything's bad. Oh, gosh, everything's bad. Oh, we can't win this game. Oh. Or we could get in the huddle and we could say, hey, we're going to make America great again. And we're going to make Texas great again. I think Texas is pretty good anyway. That kind of optimism is what I'm looking forward to as we go into the next session. Saving jobs like Carrier, keeping people in America and not going to other countries across the seas, not offshoring money, putting that money to work in our country and in our state. That's what I'm looking most forward to.
And if nothing else, we're hearing property tax reform. If there's nothing to be optimistic about, that certainly is this morning for sure. Yeah, most definitely. Thank you so much, Senator. And Doctor, yourself, what are you looking most forward to?
Well, this is always a great period of excitement. One, you've got the holidays upon us, but when you're moving into a legislative session, it's an exciting opportunity. There's quite a number of new members that come with each year, each new legislative session. They bring in a new life and energy about them that also contributes to the whole process. And so I look forward most of all to representing your interests. One of the great dividends of serving in these public roles, campaigning and being elected, is the friendships that you develop. And so much of the time that we have the opportunity to represent your interests, it's because we've developed some very lasting relationships and friendships out there. Those are very rewarding to me personally, and y'all have supported me greatly in that capacity. And so I look forward to actually taking what we have heard over the past year and a half since the last legislative session, and perhaps even before that, and saying, what can we do in order to continue to make Texas the best? Texas is the 10th largest economy in the world. It was the 12th largest economy a couple of years ago. We are doing the right things and we are moving in the right direction. And I think that's because we have looked at how government should, be in the state of Texas. You know, it should be limited. We should have limited regulatory burden, although I know if you've ever dealt with a regulatory agency, you don't think that's the case. But you know, we try to limit that so that businesses can thrive. We try to create a safe and secure environment. We try to create that workplace environment that allows people to work if they want to work, you know, out there. And so we need to continue to build on those things that really has made Texas great and will continue to make Texas great. And I think a big part of that is limiting, you know, our intrusiveness into your life. The senator has mentioned what is the #1 hot issue in this district, and it's appraisals, frankly. That's what I clearly have heard. Obviously, appraisals and then the development of budgets translates into taxes. What I clearly heard and what I have a very, very keen understanding of is that all of us have property that gets appraised. And there are certain rules that are supposed to be followed when those appraisals occur. And sometimes we don't agree with that appraisal. And we go through our own effort to get another view at what is my property really worth compared when you look at this, and this on that. And you go to the appraisal review board, all this stuff in hand, having worked, probably having spent some money, and you're dismissed as having, you don't really know what you're talking about, move on, and just get used to it. That is totally wrong. That is totally wrong. And that's something that we're going to fix. We're going to fix that. If we do nothing else in the terms of tax reform and so forth, and I know Senator Betancourt is working hard on this and has developed some ideas and things, I'm going to tell you, there's got to be something to address that because that is totally inappropriate. And we will address that. That's going to be something that certainly will come out of our office. To the extent that we look at overall tax reform and stuff, that's where the debate's going to occur. And we have heard a lot of that during the past year and a half. That's what the legislature is about. It's a hard issue. It's a difficult issue. I'm going to tell you something that's not difficult, is that if you or I go to an appraisal review board to have our appraisal challenged, we ought to get a fair, respectful hearing as a consequence of that. That we're going to change for sure. And so, you know, I look forward to, you know, representing what I think is the hot issue. I look forward to making sure that our schools are funded appropriately, that we put those resources in the hands of our administrators, our teachers, so that our children can continue to learn. Those are the things that I get great satisfaction. I will work hard to try to rein in the cost of health care. That's an area that I do spend a good part of my time up there. But most of all, I look forward to representing your interests. I look forward to seeing you up there at the Capitol. Please come by. Our office is always very welcoming of constituents and even some of those who aren't constituents that we've represented in the past. And I really look forward to working with my other colleagues in Fort Bend County, Rick Miller, Phil Stevenson, Ron Reynolds, and certainly look forward to working with Senator Kolkhorst. Fortunately, Senator Kolkhorst and I don't have a lot of this. It's really much more a lot of this, trying to convince some of our colleagues that this is a good way to go. And I could not have a greater partner in the Senate than Senator Lois Kolkhorst in terms of trying to move that forward. So, Kevin, thank you very much. Thank you for your questions. Thanks to each of y'all for the opportunity you've given us to address some of your concerns.
And thank you both. You're very dynamic and charming, Executive Director Don McCoy here. But one more round of applause for the Senator and the Doctor as well for being here.
I want to also, let's hear it for Keith Garvin. Yes, I tell you what. I watch Channel 2 every night. I do. And I'm serious, I do. Exactly. Also, I want to say thank you, Senator Kolkhorst and Representative Zerwas. I personally want to say thank you very much for your time, but on behalf of our Board of Directors in the Fulshear Area Chamber, we are honored that you took the time out this morning to join us. And we want to thank everyone for being here this morning as well. We are also always interested on how things affect us in Fulshear and Fort Bend County, and you can't find two more approachable people anytime, anywhere, if they're within the vicinity. You always take the time to say hello and have an ear, and I know how busy you are. Again, thank you very, very much. Also, I want to point out that on your tables, this is the new Fulshear magazine that has just come out by Fulshear Media Partners. Dan McJunkin and George Lane, thank you very much for creating our programs. There's an article in here about the Fulshear Area Chamber and our short history. We'd like for you to take a look at that and keep it as it makes a great coffee book table that is tremendous, and we thank you very much. It's a tremendous honor to have that in our community.